Hello, friends. It's been a while since I've done the last video. There's a couple of reasons why, most of that being my GPU and stuff dying. That's a pretty big factor. Can't really record things if I don't have a thing to record with. So we're gonna do an extra long video today. You might notice that it's like close to an hour long or more. We'll see what happens. That is like the minimum of what we want to do today. We've got a lot of stuff to really cover. First off, figured out what kind of coloration we want with our lovely desert area here. We're going to use the darker color and then kind of edge into like the lighter color from before. We're going to leave these kind of guidelines up for the moment so that I know where to start with a lighter color. Ooh, we gotta get into the land brush. Huzzah. Just kind of lather this all over the place and then use this to get into our kind of forested area or plains, I suppose, at this point. And then with our lighter brush, we just kind of do it kind of low key style because that will blend in once we get the red markers gone. And then kind of make this a little bit smaller and just apply it like that. Maybe do a little bit of, make it a little bit bigger just so that we have a more decent spread and then kind of do intervals where it kind of leaks past the red just a little bit because nothing's ever perfect, you know? Kind of do the same thing over here. And then we go back to our green, which I think was this. Nope, not that guy. Is it this one? Nope, that's a lot darker. That was our forest kind of spot up towards the beginning there. And we just kind of use that to layer on it just a little bit more. And then we select. Ooh, no, we don't want to get rid of those. We like to hold on to these. Go back to our grid snap and slap these guys back up to the top here with number 3. So you can use those in the future without having to just remake them all together. That's our kind of desert area. We might add a little bit of topography there, maybe a couple little mountain ranges and stuff. Um, Here, let's take a look at what we got. We don't really want too much. We already have a lot of mountains to begin with. We've got, a bunch here in the north, and then our eastern mountain range here. Then what turns into like the eastern plateau there. So we don't need too many mountains, but it'd be nice to have a little bit of something. Let's turn on a brush for these, but we don't want the density to be too big. We'll just do kind of a light little line here and there, and then come out just a little bit. We might be able to also get. This might be a little bit of a stretch for this particular stamp. Oh, we can get dunes in here. Okay. We don't really want it to be too dense, though. Let's try like a 14. Do that. And then there. That should be okay for now. If we need more, we can obviously add a couple more just to fill in some empty spots. Then, of course, we're going to start adding, like, cities and stuff over here too. So, won't be too crazy. It's the same thing with over here. That's kind of our, I almost want it to be a little bit bigger. Let's see. Just kind of fill in this edge over here. Okay, maybe a couple more darker spots here and there. I don't know if I can make a brush with just these trees in it. But we're going to add these mountains to the group we've already made. And we can make a new group for the dunes. Lock that in so we don't ever have to like accidentally edit it and stuff. Then we get into our, whew, that's a lot of trees. That's okay, we're adding more. So I'm going to grab our kind of little baby forest there. And then get a little bit tighter with our density. I want to start filling in over here. Heavy forested area. And of course, the assumption is going to be that there are people that live in this forest without having to populate it with like villages and stuff. Because the focus shouldn't be on all the auxiliary things on top of everything else that we got to deal with, which is, let's see if we can make our area a little bit smaller. Yeah. Ooh. I was just kind of skipping along there. Just do this in dotted kind of things. Ooh. Hit escape too many times there. And that is okay. Mistakes happen. Gonna fill it into this red line because I know that this is where I wanted one of the forests to end. Might kind of turn this into like a big open kind of plains area. Maybe make some patchwork bits of forest here and around. And then open this back up. Get our area brush a little bit bigger. You really didn't want to click there, did you? Hope you all saw that happen too. Was it just me? Just so this stops bugging me so much. You singular tree. Why are you being picky? Oh, I didn't put those inside of the thing. Well, go in there now. It escaped too many times like before. Okay, now I can delete you. Mom said it was my turn with the tree brush. As you can see, I've got a new graphics card, courtesy of one of my friends, co-workers, comrades. She is a nice lady and deserves our respect. But she is also a goober, so treat her as such. Ooh. Okay, get back in there. Thank you. Okay. Back to slightly bigger brush. Don't need it too big. I feel like something goofy just happened. So what are all of these? That's still sublayer 0. Okay, cool. That was a very briefly weird hiccup. That has been kind of goofy off and on while doing other maps. A lot of the button combinations and stuff have changed, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it is very strange when it happens. Could also be a personal computer problem. As witnessed, I do not have the most stable computer at the moment. Did just have to replace the graphics card, amongst other things. Also had to replace the power supply because that was slowly dying. Less slowly than I wanted. It was making like a real loud clicking noise, which heralded the potential fall of other bits of my computer. Okay, so get to about this point and then start thinning it out as it goes this way. And then we need to start adding the fancy trees. Also delete that guy. Add them back in a smaller brush. There should be less potential for empty spots here and there. Along the coast, it doesn't really matter. Let me get to this guy. So these are at 1. As it shows, you don't really need it to be a dense brush. Because this, in combination with what we have already, plus the brush that we used before for like the color scheme, should make this look very dense. And of course, we're going to add a road in here too. We'll add that and then delete some of the trees after. But Mr. Mapmaker, man, why not just do that at the beginning? Because I only realized it now and I'm trying to sound competent. Did hit the undo key there, but that is okay. As mentioned, mistakes happen. Not here to criticize anybody on their mistakes. In fact, a lot of parents like to tell us that we're mistakes. Ironically speaking, I was the only planned kid in my household. Go figure. So I really can't hold it against anybody that has been told that they're a mistake all their life. I don't think you're a mistake. I think you were here for a purpose, and the world is better off with you in it, regardless of what anybody else might say. So if nothing else, there's a random YouTube man who believes in you. Because somebody's got to believe in everybody. And if no one else is going to do it, I don't really do too much on my day-to-day, so, I'll take on that burden. Though can't really call it a burden, I suppose. All right, we're getting close to this area up here. Ooh. Mr. Tree, you're in the ocean there, buddy. So it doesn't look nearly as packed as in there, but that's fine. Those are kind of in there for a reason. Packed in there for a reason. Let's see, can we get our darker shade? Oh, I've already used it in here. Okay. Fair enough. Right, so that's the start with our road then. I'm thinking of having it come out of here and just go down this way and leave this as just open land with like a handful of like villages and stuff in there. We don't want to hand draw it. We're going to pull it out this way and just kind of let it sit there like that. Then go back into our trees. Probably better off to just, paint in the trees around it instead of going in and doing what I did now. But as I mentioned, I was just trying to sound smart. Should have done it this way. I have regrets, but that is okay. We're here for an hour. If this is my normal 30-minute business, then we might have been a little bit smarter about it, but that's okay. There's no life or death involved with this. There's very little reason to really get panicky about it. You always have a chance to fix things. Goodness. Is that me delete the tree? Thank you. There's statements about like, having the grid up and stuff. As mentioned, this is away from my particular sensibilities and how I want to structure it for now. I'm gonna get rid of the grid before I export it, or at least hide the grid. Don't want to really get rid of it. Get rid of it. Also, if you're having a okay, relaxing time listening to me drone on about map stuff, and you want to see this particular map in action, then feel free to take a look at my Start Playing page. I've put up the listing for this game. It's known as Godbreaker. I think I might have mentioned that before. We're just going to scoot you over there. Oop, then I just deleted it. Good job, buddy. Reflex. Ooh, I didn't really like that. Let's see what happens. Anywho, um, I put up the listing for it for the cultivation. I'm going to butcher this again because I'm not a native speaker of the language that this came from. So I'm probably going to get it wrong. And if anyone knows how to pronounce it better, be more than happy to take your pronunciation over it. Wuxia might be Wuxia or Wuchia, because I know that, or at least I have read that in certain styles of Chinese that the X can be either SH or CH noises. I've put the game up. It is scheduled for um, Sunday mornings, or at least uh, here in the lovely state that I live in. That's in the mornings. For me, it's 9:30 a.m. For anybody else, that is whatever time that is. It is absolutely free. I'll be doing another recording thing like I do with my Chivalry game, though with a smaller group. Only 4 to 5 people this time. Once I get four, I might leave it up to see if anyone wants to join as a fifth person. but you don't have to pay for it. Just with the understanding that I'm going to record it and put it online here on this same channel. So if you want to see what we do with this map and various other things alongside how the game itself is played, you are more than welcome to see if you want to be part of it. Do you know how to play Savage Worlds? No? That's okay. I can teach you. It's a very simplistic game. It's not a whole lot going on with it. And the easiest portion of it is that I say easiest and then I struggle to explain it. Most people are coming from a D20 system like D&D, Pathfinder, um, maybe even a D100 system like Call of Cthulhu or one of the Warhammer games. And that's not, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, Savage Worlds utilizes every dice from a D4 to a D12, and everything you do has one of these die, and you roll the required die plus what's called a wild die, a D6, and whichever one of those two is the highest is what you take. And if one of them rolls max, then you get what's called an ace. Uh, every time it rolls max, you keep rolling that die. So like you re-roll it, and every time it gets a max, you keep going, and inevitably add up all of the results together once it stops rolling max. Meaning that there's generally no upper limit to what somebody can roll, which also means that there's very little. I guess you could call it balancing with it. I'm not saying that there isn't some inherent balance, but when a bunny rabbit can technically, if it's really lucky, one shot a dragon with this system, that's your balance. Anybody can kill anybody. And it's fairly realistic too. At D&D, if somebody gets shot, then there's a very high chance that that person's not dead, even if you did a headshot. And I'm not going to say that that's necessarily a downside of D&D, but it's something that sticks out. Um, let me think. Most damage is the D6 or a D8. You have your kind of standard attributes. Agility, which is your characters like balance and speed and deftness, almost dexterity. Strength, you pretty much figure out what that is. Smarts, you can pretty much figure out what that is. Spirit is like your force of personality, and your willpower governs how well you are in conversations, but also how well you defend against mind altering effects. And then there's vigor, which you might also be able to determine what that is. And then there's skills. I'll be honest, there's a shitload of skills in Savage Worlds. Um, enough skills to do pretty much anything. And Savage Worlds is very good about um, having the capability of being anything. So you can build your character to do kind of any build. You want to be a muscular wizard that uses strength instead of smarts to cast spells? Work it out with your GM, and boom, that's what you can do now. You want to be a psychic who doesn't necessarily use magic, but the force of their mind to do stuff? That's in there. Um, the capability to be anything is great in Savage Worlds, which also makes it somewhat hard to build homebrew games in it. but I've been playing Savage Worlds enough that making a homebrew game is easy. And especially now that I have the science fiction companion. That has made life exceptionally easier. One of the things that has been requested is a snowy forest. I don't think I have just a generic. I could probably do. Do we do the shaded pine trees? Or just the pokey ones? I feel like these pokey ones look like they have a lot of snow on them, so I'm going to roll with these. Please let me know if you'd rather have some other kind of forested goodie happen. Just make this a really dense forest. I love Savage Worlds. I love it almost more than like D&D and stuff. It's a lot more capability to do pretty much anything that you want. If you have a particular character in mind, instead of being stuck with the class structure of D&D, and be aware, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a downside of D&D. In fact, it is built that way for a very specific reason, and it does it very well. Savage Worlds is better off being a non-class world slash. Why did the angle change again? The goofiness that happens here. Let's see how long it takes to do the. I should probably save it. It'll probably save a little bit of hassle with all these undos that I'm doing. Um, Let me get back to my train of thought. Without having a good class, that means that you can dabble in things, and as long as you qualify for them, there's no necessarily a reason to tell you no. There just needs to be an in-universe way as to how your character achieved that. Like if you say, "Oh, over the course of my character's adventure, I want them to learn how to become a psychic." It's like, "Okay, how do you envision them unlocking this ability?" Because all of it is very much tied to the narrative and to your character's personal growth. And if you come up with a reason that is agreed upon with your DM, great. Your character will eventually be a psychic and could do all of the cool things that everybody else gets to do, but instead of it being tied to a god or a traditional magic system, it is instead the power of my brain, which is a great reason to use Savage Worlds. The core rulebook for Savage Worlds allows pretty much any setting. Do a quick save there. Um, you can have modern day science fiction, fantasy, some combination of everywhere in between. Like I've got another Savage Worlds game up for like detective people, doing stuff in fantasy 1920s United States. That one up is also up on Sundays. That one you can find on my page. I'm not going to talk too much about that one. It is a paid game, so be aware if you go to try to find it. Um, Savage Worlds is very new player friendly. It's very easy to get started and very easy to continue to play because you really just need one of each kind of die. Don't even need a D20 and can. I think maybe you need like two or three D6s and then boom, you're done. As soon as you have your character concept done, then you're good to go. And that could take anywhere from 5 or 10 minutes if you're already learned it at the game to anywhere between like 15 to 20 minutes. It's not nearly as long as getting a new player into D&D or similar, because there's not a whole lot of rules that you got to go over. A lot of it is all laid out there and all of the edges and abilities that you get. Okay, so we're gonna stop with the crazy forest about there. I might lighten this up just a little bit, make the trees less dense, and maybe kind of stop it around this kind of area. Um, we're going to add a little bit more snow stuff in here. Going to cover this area with white real fast. I'm also going to add the volcano, like probably right in there. I hadn't forgotten. We just got to work towards it. Hey, look, we passed the 30-minute mark. Congratulations. I hope you're still here. I hope you're still having fun. Uh, or at least, enjoying the portions of me um, saying negative things about myself. It's okay. I do that more often than you think. Some might call that a bad thing to do, and I say that's just part of the culture at this point. Okay, so we make some kind of dark areas around here, because of course it's not perfectly snowy. There's going to be some non-snowy patches here and there. I'm going to turn the grid off. It's going to make a far more like stark difference. I'm going to get rid of a couple of these trees sitting on the roots here. And then use the white to edge over here a little bit. And then the same brown to go over here. A little bit more white. Doesn't have to be crazy. And then I'm thinking, this is just me maybe, go a lot darker here. We'll fill up this kind of circle here with it, and then add a little bit more green after. It's part of the, put this down to about 50%. Scoochy, 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 scooch, scooch, scooch. And back down to like 20-ish for the original patterning. And maybe add some kind of just a little bit of green towards the edge here. And hold down the brush to really make the edge pop. And then you get out of the trees. Oh, hope I didn't move them too much. Can I do the Control Z there? Did that actually like do anything? Or is that just gonna get rid of most of the green that's over here? Let's see what happens. I appreciate you sticking around. I know this is gonna be a lot longer of a video than you're used to. That's just to make up for the episode or two that I missed. This is actually doing the undo. So I appreciate you sticking around. As my computer wonders what it's doing. We're going to put the volcano about there, and then we're going to put another one of the big cities here. We're probably not going to use this icon for it, because that one should be unique for the nation's capital. But I don't want to use the city capitals that we were using before. So we'll probably use a different one. I know that there's like a limited list of those, so we'll take a quick look through them. Probably put it along the coastline like we were doing before, because in times like this campaign is going to be taking place in, most big cities are going to be along the coastline. We're going to just do a quick save there, just so that maybe that doesn't happen again. Now we've got 16,000, nearly 17,000 trees. Thankfully, when they're saved as a group, it doesn't treat them all as singular entities. So we can just, scoodaloo around. All right, so that's what the capital is. Um, ooh, we don't want the menu turned on. Hey man, I selected this. It's a scale of 140%. Okay, cool. Turn on snap to grid. So we know that this one is the capital. I'm thinking maybe use different icons for the different cities, because I also want to try to populate some of these areas with sect holds, where they're not just the capitals of a country or like a city state kind of thing, but they're also like, homes where cultivators live. So we already used this one for cities, so we can't use this one. So I think instead we're going to use this guy. We're going to slap that dude right there. And then we're going to get over here to the size of this one. So half the size, okay. That works for me. I think we're going to use this little star guy, try to keep within like the same kind of motif. But then there's only one of those. So maybe utilize. If I just like rotated this dude a bunch. It's one of those like we know that it's just that one rotated around, so we're just gonna ignore it then. All right, so we're gonna turn off snap to grid. Do some. Oh, turn off random. We don't want that. Put some around the coastline here, because those are gonna be big. And then we put some inside of the middle here. Then we're going to dot a couple around in this forest. But we're not going to put too many roads inside of this forest. We're going to have one that starts here, like comes around, goes into like the hold that's going to be up here, and then connects to this guy. But once it goes into the forest, it's going to disappear until it gets here, and then jump in between all of these. Because I want this to feel like, untamed forest, you know? Um, where we're just gonna get rid of this circle there, just so we don't have to deal with it anymore. And we'll fill in all these gaps and stuff. Because we gotta add roads and whatnot. I feel like we need to add all of these icons into their own little groupage. We're gonna unselect these guys and then just do icons. Boom. Then we go into roads. I think the hardest one is going to be, ooh, whoops. Get back in there. Oh, we need to do an undo. There we go. All right. So the hardest thing is you can try to match it up to this guy, because technically I can just add more to it. But that's not going to work, because we're all going to know that it's kind of goofy. So just for reference, why I went back and forth, because like it zooms out of where your mouse pointer is, so it goes in like kind of a direction. All Alright, so we're going to make this curve around a little. Give access to this hold that's going to be up here. Then we scooch around. And then we just put it there. See, there's a little bit of mixing there, but that is okay. Or unmixing, I suppose. The fact that, now any of the Inkarnate devs that may or may not be watching, I highly doubt there's any of those people watching. They're probably very busy doing their cool artist things. As long as they, stop messing with all the other shit. Um, if you can make it so that we could do this like curved path and multiple dots, like instead of selecting individual ones, but instead can select a whole bunch in a line, or just select the entire line itself and make them all like these kind of graceful curves. That'd be cool. I'd enjoy having that as a feature. Then we mess with this just a little bit so it doesn't look so janky. That's fine. And we just have this guy connect up to this road. Because this is still the Emperor's road, this main road coming through here. And then we add one coming from here into this guy. And then this is when we start joining them all together. Okay. Once again, I apologize for my abundance of sniffles. As mentioned before, I am a permanent member of the Sniffle Club. It's probably like a deviated septum or something. Then we do kind of this thing where we add this guy to there, but then like have branching thing come down here. I want to see it in the middle here. And then make this guy. Don't know why I did this kind of S thing, but that's okay. And then make this one go off here into the forest. Have that go into the forest, and have this one go off into the forest. And people are like, oh, what's happening? Why is the... Why does this feel like that's over those? Maybe it's just because I don't have any trees on top of that. Just be like, hey man, have a tree. And you can has a tree. And oh, you already has trees. Look at you. Overachiever. Good job. And then we turn on the mini. And then just start filling in all the gaps. We might leave the middle empty. Like as it gets to like the green. So turn on, like lower the density a little bit. Probably not that much. Go like the 38. That's about as close as I had it before. Let's do 34. Make the area a little bit less big. And then do this kind of deal. Because it's getting warmer as it goes down there, you know? These kinds of trees, maybe they don't like that kind. They don't like that kind of temperature. Man, I interrupted myself with my own sniffles there. Beautiful time. And then we raise this back up to like the 48 it was before. I don't need it that big. feel like that's almost too packed together. I don't remember what it was. We'll do 46. No, a little bit less. We'll do 44. Because it shouldn't add anything in between. They should be spaced out the same. I feel like that's close, so I'm just gonna roll with it. Might look at other videos or earlier to make sure. Because I feel like if I just wandered around, don't want to do that. Oh, now I need to fix it. It's getting annoying. Should have tried to remember that. It might be 42. Let's see if the map maker man can get this right. Do a bunch of undos. Oh, man. I will pause. Actually, no, let me mute myself real fast. All right. Shout out to anyone and everyone who has to deal with allergies and similar situations to what I'm currently going. Yeah, 42 is like the kind of sweet spot. Okay, cool. That's just a little bit off from before. Are these bigger? No. That's weird. The opacity is the same. That's strange. Why is there such a noticeable difference between those? Weird. Okay, so we know that that's 42. All right, so that should be okay for this particular one. I'm gonna go ahead and slap a name on our capital here. Let's get out of there. Grab this guy, but we're just gonna use the same kind of font. We want it to be sublayer 3 is fine. And we're just gonna leave it like this for now. We're gonna change it later. But this, I'm gonna give you guys a couple of options actually for what this could be potentially named. We have one that I've been using in a lot of my games, which is the White City. It has like a secondary name, which is Rondell, which I'll put there instead if we choose that one. An alternative is the kind of cliche Imperial City. Actually, call it the Imperial Capital. It could be the Imperial City instead. We'll figure out if anyone wants that one. And then the last option will be um, maybe set up a kind of nomenclature, I suppose, for like how these capitals could work. It could be the City of Jade because there's a lot of green stuff happening around. So let me know which one you would prefer out of those three. We're gonna turn off the grid. Well, all that did was snap. Turn off the snap to the grid. Don't mind me. All right. Here's what we look like so far. Got about 10-ish minutes left. Um, we have this nation started, or this. Can't really call it a city state since there's a bunch of other cities involved. I'm gonna pull this down here so that I'm not. Well, that just makes it join that. I don't want you to be up there. I want you to be down here. Suffer with the rest of us. Oh, that would increase its thing too. Man, I just had to get rid of those at some point then. I mean, I know what I'm doing, so eventually they're not going to be there, but like just having this gap between these groups has been goofy. Um, Depending on what we choose for these, will determine the nomenclature for this one. Like, do we do the White City? Do I reuse the capital that I've used in a bunch of games? I offer that because some people like having those kinds of options. Do we do them based off of color? Do we do the City of Jade? Do we do the White City? Or do we go for more cliche names where we got the Imperial capital and then whatever the capital of this is? Whatever this hold is going to be, whatever this one is going to be, and then whatever this one's going to be. And of course, we're going to probably have one down here, or have this just be like a sect hold where it's all of this area is controlled by one very big sect. I have a list. It's a very small list at the beginning. We're going to add more lists, more to the list as it goes, of sects that will be prevalent in the land, and one of them is known as the um, oh man, I forget what it is. I know it's the Path of the Shattered Mountain, which that believe that um, life exists to be sacrificed to nature because of what mortals did to the gods. So their plan is to murder everybody in like a giant natural disaster, which is always great. We got to have weird kind of subtly neutral anti-heroes, I suppose you could call them. Because they're not necessarily bad, but they have terrible intentions. Because they're not going to go out of their way to kill people, because, they need more people to sacrifice to their, titanic magic and shit. So the more people that are alive is the more people that they can sacrifice. All right, I did it. I've talked about it a couple of times now. We're going to make our volcano, and we're going to get rid of this one big guy in the middle there and replace it with an volcano. So we can use, oh, we need to turn off that. We could use one of these guys, but I'm thinking that we actually go into the fantasy world one and grab one of their volcanoes. That might make it stand out a whole lot, but we'll see what happens. Um, let's keep looking. I love all of these stamps. These stamps are really fun. Very colorful, very diverse. Um, you can see a whole lot of really cool stuff in here. I might use a bunch of these, like these statue kind of guys, for one of the sects that I made. So here's a volcano, and here's another one. I don't think these ones have any like smoke pouring off of them though. Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna have to go back to the parchment world stuff then. Okay, that's fine. We need this to stand out, to be obvious to everyone that sees it. It's a little bit. Do it like that and make it a lot bigger. And maybe throw in some darker coloration. Do like this gray. I know it's supposed to be like an ocean texture, but I really want this portion to stand out. I don't know why that's taken forever because it's. So we're gonna fill up this entire mountain range with this gray. Then we're gonna go back through it and add the snow and the brown texture that we were using before. Go back into like 50-ish%. lower this up, and then just kind of lightly cover it. Only really click it once. Steer clear of the actual volcano itself, and then lighten it in a couple of spots. Then go back in with the brown. Okay. And then with a smaller brush, just hammer in the gray on this guy. We do. Does turning off softness do anything? No. Okay. So we got this as gray as we can get it, unless we want a different gray. Get back softness. Kind of like that a little bit better. We use this in this. Ooh, no. Go to 30-ish% is fine. Add some gray to this guy too. We don't want it to be too snowy because that's kind of the other mountain ranges deal. Maybe add some darker contrasts over to these two. And boom, there's our volcano. And that's going to be one of our sects there too. I'm thinking that we open up our icons again. Well, we're not going to use a humanoid icon for that. We're going to use one of, we're going to use this group. We're going to use these icons for our sect holds. But we're going to raise this up to 140%. And then, boom, sect hold. And we use a different one for, we don't want it to be too close to that guy. We could fill it in. Do that one. Then another sect is going to be over here. Do that one. And then in this mountain range here, kind of running out of options. Go back to this big one. No. See what's in this one. Kind of very geometric shape kind of ones. You know, we'll use this guy for a sect hold. And then last one will be that square. And we'll probably have more. We can, of course, populate this a little bit better. But these are like the prospective spots for it. I'd say that this one and maybe this one are kind of in the air for in terms of like whether or not those are actually going to be sect holds. The rest of these though are pretty much set in stone. Because I know which hold is going to go there. I know which hold's going to go there, and I already have this one. I feel like this one could be a little bit bigger. Same thing with this one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, get out of that group. Hit save. And while this is saving, I appreciate you sticking around. Longer episode than you expected, but that's okay. Missed it for the last one, so we're trying to catch up. Let me know what you think for our capital city's name. Whether these placements are okay in terms of like, cities and like forests and stuff. Did quite a lot of stuff this time around. It's been an hour. So let me know what you think. I thank you again for your participation. Have a good rest of your day. Hope you had a good Mother's Day. For those of you in the States, I had to remind myself that people overseas had it a couple of, I think it's like a month or two ago, as reminded by one of my overseas players. So I hope you had a good Mother's Day, either over this previous weekend or over the previous months. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Have a good one.